Coming to you live from the One More I'm Out of Here / Legal Shift Studios after a huge technical difficulty. We don't even know what the fuck happened. We have no idea what transpired.
And I just got my degree, and I still have no idea because I wasn't in computers because I'm too old for this shit.
It's almost like a Control-Delete type sitch, but we're here. We're back. We got everything working. Rich,
give me another beer.
Glad you're here, my man.
Thanks, brother. Cheers.
Cheers to you. Got a lot of stuff to cover. Some breaking news that came out yesterday, and it's been a few days.
Real quick, can we just talk about roundabouts? I mean, I'm still fired up about this. I know we talked about it as soon as I walked in, but Jesus fucking Christ! So I live in Butler County, north of here, and of Cincinnati and Hamilton County, and we have so many goddamn roundabouts. Number one, I love them because they're so much fun on a fucking motorcycle. You just keep going around and round and round. It's like, look, kids, Big Ben, but. You know, people, it's a yield. It's not a fucking stop. If there's nobody in the roundabout, slow, make sure you can enter in cautiously and then fucking hit the gas, not the goddamn brake. It's not a stop sign.
I love going around them in a fire truck.
Oh, I bet that's even
fucking everybody loses their shit, stops. We would just roll up onto the fucking.
You go up on the curb, maybe bust a few bricks or something like that. Public Works is coming out the next day to replace the curb because
there's fucking signs that tell you exactly what to do. And I agree with you. It's not that difficult. It really isn't.
And if I don't know if Blue Ash is still doing it, Blue Ash had like go-karts at Summit Park where you could go up there and you could, you know, if you were of whatever age, you could go up there and you could test drive a golf cart and figure out how to drive a roundabout safely. I mean, we're all learning these signs. It's like merging onto the highway. It's not a fucking stop. Merge.
Well, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a zipper. You know, you got one, then you allow one in.
Now we got to put these fucking stoplights on it, and they still don't fucking.
Or they meter it.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
it's a metered entrance. Right?
I literally was that asshole cop before I retired. I think I probably in the entire 20 years that I was there, almost. I think I was the only person in my time there that wrote someone for driving too slow. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the speed limit's there for a reason. Yes, there's minimum speeds and blah, 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 blah. But the gas is on the right. Exactly. Fucking drive.
Just hit it.
Sorry, rant over.
No, I love it.
God, I was pissed today.
But I think you speak what everyone else thinks.
I hope so.
I mean, everyone else has thought it. The roundabouts, I think they have a place.
They definitely are safer. I mean, because you get a four-way stop and everything like that. Who's going? Well, here... everybody can go and you can have fun. You can see if you can get through it fastest with your friends. I mean, don't do it safely, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like disclaimers.
It's like NASCAR or like Fast and Furious, like drifting around. That'd be cool.
That would be fun.
That'd be fun.
We got a lot of them out there.
We'll have to go drink some beers and then do it late at night.
Yes, maybe.
Hypothetically speaking.
In our minds on right. Whatever. All right. What we got going on today?
Rich, it's been a little bit since you've been on, but appreciate you being here. And
thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I'm not Pappas, and I'm not going to speak for all of you. I'm just going to speak for my fucking self.
Just going to speak for me.
I might even take this thing down, but it looks like he's super glued it on here. Pappas, I need my own.
Come up with a design. He'll make it.
I'll figure it out. I used to have Rich's road trips. That was a lot of fun, but you know, I'm back to work now. So
Rich's road trips.
Rich's road trips was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good times. Mount Rushmore, Sturgis.
So we're gonna jump into obviously some of the big news over the weekend. The fact that RFK suspended his presidential bid and is backing Donald Trump. I wanted to get your thoughts on it because we haven't spoke since this came out. But
I like it.
Where are you at?
I like it
because I'm a little confused. I'm a little confused on it in the fact that he suspended it. Only in like he couldn't get his name off the ballot in some states because it was too late. Even if he wanted to.
Did he expel himself?
No,
he's suspended. I mean, I got expelled once.
I probably should have been expelled. But I've never. I mean, just in my lifetime, I've never seen this whole scenario the way it's playing out. So the way I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, is he suspended his campaign. He didn't completely withdraw. His name is going to be on the ballots in some states, but other states.
I did read an article.
Is that correct? Am I?
That's what I understand. However, I did read an article from at least there in Ohio. Our Secretary of State did state that they requested that their name be removed from the Ohio ballot. So at least here in Ohio, his name will be removed. Now, as far as other states, I'm not sure, but
I can't remember which states I saw. I think it was Pennsylvania was one of them where his name's still going to be on there. I think
he's off of Michigan. I read as well. So that's going to lead more people to vote for Trump or Harris. The thing that gets me is I mean, he suspended it. And we see that when Republicans or Democrats or independents, when they don't think that they're going to, get the nomination from their party for the primaries. I mean, Harris, technically her presidential election was suspended back in 2019 because she didn't even get to Iowa, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So, I mean, we're seeing that. We see that all the time. I think it's a way for them to maybe continue to keep those funds for a later date in running. So this way he doesn't have to return any money to the donors. I think it's a technical term, because if you donated to RFK, why wouldn't you want your money back? I mean, I would want it back. Right. if he goes in, and now if you're a hardline Democrat that doesn't want, his money to be going towards Donald Trump, or, he joins alliances with Biden, you don't want your money going one way or the other. So this way, I think it keeps his money in his own purse. And if he decides in 4 years, or if he decides in 2 years that he wants to go and run for Congress, there's been rumors out there that he's going to be the Secretary of Health, or Secretary of Education, or the Secretary of this, Secretary of that. And this was one of their deals, backroom deals that you're going to have, whether it's a Republican or Democrat. It happens, and this is one of them. But I love the idea that they're crossing party lines and they're supporting each other.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think this is great for the country. You may not like either one of them, but to see a Democrat and a Republican cross those lines, it means that everybody can do it.
And especially, I'm going to show a picture here in a second, but Kennedy cited free speech, the war in Ukraine, and the war on our children as among the reasons he would try to remove his name from the ballot in the battleground states. And then he also went on to say, these are the principal causes that persuaded me to leave the Democratic Party and run as an independent, and now to throw my support to President Trump. I don't know if you saw the rally right after he made this announcement, because he was in Arizona, and Trump was in Arizona, and ended up coming up on stage, came out to the Foo Fighters,
Yeah.
Here, there goes my hero, or whatever the heroes, the title of the song, I believe. But it was, that crowd went absolutely fucking ballistic, and just started chanting Bobby, and then started chanting USA after it. We've never seen, you and I have never, in our lifetime, never seen anything like this.
No. And I think you bring in that Trump MAGA base, and then you bring in, and as many people, and I know that this is something that we're going to talk about here shortly, that historic Kennedy icon, that brand of the Kennedy family. A lot of people we talk about over time, where I'm just going to, that name's familiar to me. You got Robert Kennedy down in Louisiana, I guarantee he's got people that think that he's part of the Kennedy clan from Massachusetts, and he's just the smart one that decided to be a Republican down here in Louisiana, and he's a carpetbagger. We're going to bring him down here. He's name recognition. Right. I mean, these people, they absolutely love this idea. I mean, the one thing that worries me, being from Cincinnati, and I'm a homer. I love my Bengals. I love my Reds. I love my FC Cincinnati. What happens to JD Vance if they see that this is a stronger ticket? Are they going to push JD Vance out? Is this the end for JD Vance? Is this the beginning of a Trump Kennedy ticket?
I don't know that it would go that far. I mean, it's a good question, and it's obviously out there. I'm looking at the comments, and since he stated that he had contacted the Harris campaign before he backed Trump, sold his supporters for a potential cabinet position. I heard that.
I heard that too.
I heard he contacted, but obviously they weren't jiving. They weren't driving on the same thought train, whatever. So he decided to jump on the Trump train.
Right. And I don't.
And guess what? All politicians fucking do it.
Right.
Every one of them.
It's who most close. It's just like, Cincy or anybody else in the chat, or you or I. It's whoever most closely aligns with your values.
Right.
And I think that goes to what, it sounds like if one of the things that we're going to talk about too is his wife. He and his wife, they live in the same house. Their values are not going to align. And if his values he feels are going to align with Trump, so be it. If he feels that they are middle of the road and they're going to align with both of them, then hey, he's going to check with Harris first, because he, in all actuality, he is a Democrat. So he's going to stay loyal to his party, which I commend him for. But yeah, he did, if you're going to say that he sold it, yeah, you can say he sold it, but he hasn't gotten anything in return yet. Has he? He hasn't gotten that cabinet position. Trump hasn't won the White House. So he hasn't gotten anything in return. There's no sale.
I saw this picture. It says, when a lifelong Democrat from an iconic Democratic family who tried to run as a Democrat and whose running mate was a Democrat warned you about the dangers of voting for the Democrat in this election, you should probably listen, which I completely agree with. And the fact, and I'm glad that since he said that, because he obviously he went to Harris first and does not believe or ascribe to whatever that camp is, because nobody knows. And the statement was put in here earlier. Does anybody know what her policies are? And I said, well, since he probably does, and I'll wait, because she hasn't said shit.
Go ahead. I'm still waiting on her to answer the phone for CNN, MSNBC.
And since he said to look it up,
Fox
which I will, obviously, before I vote, I will look that up.
I think everybody should look up both sides.
And he said, I'll ask her at our next meeting. I think you should.
Next press conference she has?
Yeah, please. Oh,
well, wait.
You be the first one. Be the first one to put your hand up. And
before September 10th.
Which is going to roll us right in. But I think that, it's exciting. It's exciting to see some movement in a world that we've just never experienced before. So it's like, all right, this makes it interesting now. Like, who's got skin in the game and who's actually gonna do what, right?
Yeah, I look. This is things that our grandkids, they're going to be reading about in their history books when they're studying American history in 40 years. These are things that
it depends on whether they actually want to teach this part of history, because we're
you never know.
We're erasing most of our history.
I hope not, because I think just like you, I'm a big fan of history. This is kind of like, you go back to World War II when Roosevelt won his third term. That was historic. You go to the dropping of the atomic bomb. That was historic. Those moments in time, the Kennedy assassination, they hadn't sworn in a president on an airplane before. It seems minuscule at the time, but you look back on it and it's like, wow, that's pretty neat. There's a photograph of a presidential swearing in on an airplane, and then you look at Watergate, you got Watergate then in the 70s. These are just different things rolling through history. And we didn't start the fire by Billy Joel, pretty much. This is right. Another newer, updated version. Billy Joel, get started on that, please. I'll be waiting, just like were the rest of us.
So with that, and I'm trying to find the actual, trying to find the page. Stay by.
Which one are we talking about?
Well, just rolling in with RFK.
RFK and his family?
Yeah.
And his wife? Everybody in our families. I know that I have family out here watching, and we're not going to agree on everything. I can tell you probably which ones, without naming names. They're probably rolling their eyes laughing at me going, yeah. I don't agree with him on fucking shit. But at the same time, there's some that we agree 100% on. But there's also ones that we disagree on politics. We don't even talk about it. And, there's also family friends. But why lose those friends? Why lose those, family members over something so trivial that in 4 years, Trump's not even going to be president because he can't run again?
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah. Exercise your right. Like you and I just sitting here being co-host, I could not agree with you on everything. You're going to exercise your right come election time. I'm going to do mine. And I'm not going to sit there and berate you. We may have discussion, but I'm not going to berate you and be like, oh, you're so fucking dumb. You're so dumb for what you just did. You just ruined
if
it all.
Pappas was here, I'd probably say that there was a few things that I've seen lately on about him. That's why this is not me again. So let's get the three of us together, and we can have some debate with Pappas.
But pulling that mindset in, going into the police department, when you were working, and you go into roll call, and I don't know how many guys you had on per shift,
about 9 to 12.
So 9 to 12. Yeah. You're not going to agree.
Oh God,
with
no.
all other 11 or 10 people, right?
No, never.
But guess what?
Same with you at the firehouse.
Exactly. You still went to work.
Yes.
And you still did your job. And you still
backed
each other up.
Yes. And anytime those tones dropped, bam, we were right there for each other. And then afterwards, I was calling him a motherfucker.
Right.
Calling him an asshole. I can't believe you fucking did that. Or they were doing the same thing back to me. Why the fuck did you do that? Why'd you go to pull that car over? Why'd you try and stop them? Because they were only doing 10 miles an hour in a 25. Well, because it was against the law. I mean, it's our job. But right. We had different ways of looking at things.
But personal feelings are personal feelings and values and whatever. And what may benefit me may not benefit you, and vice versa.
Hence why you're a fireman.
So when you go, well, I took the right test, but when you go to the polls, I'm not looking at you going, oh, he better vote that way.
Right.
I encourage, we bust each other's balls on here, with Cincy 513 coming in, and he gets angry at times, but I completely support him.
I think it's
as long as he's voting, as long as anybody out there is voting, I'm okay with it.
If you're not
the way
voting,
you want to
you
vote.
have no say so.
But if you don't, shut your mouth.
Yeah. If
but
you
do
don't
it
go up
do
there,
it correctly, do it legally,
do it respectfully. Yeah.
But I find this amusing. I mean, just because Robert Kennedy Jr., obviously everybody knows the family, everybody knows the history, and then his wife, they are a house divided. And the way this article reads says, my family is at the center of the Democratic Party. I have members of my family that are working for the Biden administration. Biden has a bust of my father behind him at the Oval Office, and he's been a family friend for many years. He goes, my family is, and I understand they're troubled by my decisions. I love my family. I feel like we were raised in a milieu of, I think, is that milieu?
Looks like it.
I don't know. I'm not an English major. Where we were encouraged to debate each other and debate ferociously and passionately about things and still love each other. He said they're free to make their positions on these issues. There are many, many members of my family working at my campaign and who are supporting me. But he's married to Cheryl Hines, the actress, and she's not super, super keen on it. She made a X post, says the decision has been made to suspend my husband, Robert Kennedy Jr.'s presidency, and I'd like to extend a sincere, deeply heartfelt thank you to every person who has worked so tirelessly and lovingly on his campaign. They've accomplished feats that were said to be, and it goes on, that they were told they were never going to get enough signatures anyway.
Right.
And they killed it.
Oh, they were out there, there was, to me, looking back to the early 90s with Perot, I don't remember following an election, that election this closely. So I can't tell you how many states he was in, and I didn't look it up. But, it seems so hard just to hit 88 counties here in Ohio to get enough signatures. I think you got at 5,000 to get to get on a ballot for a state election in all 88 counties. To hit, I think, 100,000 signatures of of voters in each state. That's pretty commendable if they do all that. So
I listened when he made his remarks before he went out with Trump, but when he made his remarks, to the country saying, hey, I'm suspending. And he talked about the workers, and he was like, there was a gentleman that lost 25 pounds walking, getting signatures in 117-degree heat. And Kennedy personally, I'd heard this later, personally called that guy and was like, hey, I am sorry for all the effort that you put in. And he was like, don't be sorry. What we did was instrumental in this political climate. So I think that is very, very cool. His siblings said they feel betrayed and, whatever. I mean, they're not happy, and I get it. When you're that embossed in
in
that
politics, that family.
in that family. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand it.
Papa Joe Kennedy was, he was an ambassador, if I remember my history correctly.
He was.
He was, and then you have, JFK, being a senator and president, and then you have, RFK being, and Teddy, and that family is, they're the Kennedys. I mean, they're our royalty. They're a Catholic family. And, he's the only Catholic president up until Biden that we had. And that's, as a Catholic, non-practicing from that area, that was, those were books that I always read. I always looked at the Kennedys. And I think that what RFK Jr. is doing, that's just another reason why we as a country need to look at the Kennedys again. Camelot, we had that, when JFK was, they called that, and the White House. Maybe this is what we need to bring our country together, is that you have RFK and Trump coming together. I could be wrong. You're in the comments. What do you think? I mean, bring it up in a debate. I'm perfectly fine with that. I could be wrong. I'm fine with that.
I think.
What do you think?
I think it would be interesting. I like the Trump Vance ticket right now, but obviously, and since he said that he had sold out to get a cabinet spot, I think he absolutely, at the very least, should be the head of a cabinet position, because he's very smart. There are a lot of things that I agree with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There's a lot of things I don't, but I can ascribe to some of the things that he talks about, because when he started fighting the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, and all this, and nobody wanted to listen. Right. Now you're starting to see a lot of these studies, and I'm not going one way or the other, because I don't care. I don't give a shit. I really don't.
And that's a debate for another day.
Exactly. But he brought up some questions that he got, poo-pooed on. But now people are actually starting to grab onto, well, maybe that is right.
I told you.
Yeah, maybe that's correct. So I find him very interesting, and I think he is smart, and I think he could do very, very well. President, I never saw that. I don't think he's that caliber, but he definitely should hold a position somewhere.
Maybe Secretary of State. I mean, who knows? I mean, he's very well spoken. He's very diplomatic, I think. I mean, but if he doesn't want that, if he wants, the health, give it to him. He's got some good ideas. He's got some good ideas for everything.
Right.
At least listen to him as an advisor.
And he's going to deal with his family the way he deals with his family, and that's
like the rest of us do. Cheers.
Right. It's always a struggle. We got the next thing we got
is we're gonna get in the time machine, and we're gonna go back to the night of March the 12th, 2020. You guys remember where you were at March the 12th, 2020? Do you remember where you were at March 12th, 2020?
I don't.
You were probably sitting right here.
Yeah, probably.
I know I was sitting at my house. Let's see. Trump had just closed everything down the day before. I had just gotten back from Arizona. And, the Louisville Metro Police Department, they were writing 4 search warrants, like what I got right here. They were writing 4 of these.
I should have scanned those and emailed them to me.
I should have just emailed them to you when I had them.
That's all right.
Anyways, so they were writing 4 of these search warrants. And about 10 o'clock, they met up at their command post, and they decided that they were going to divvy these up. And, while the search warrants were signed by a judge earlier on the day of the 12th of March, 2020, and I cannot read that judge's signature, but it looks like it starts with an M. Anywho, in Jefferson County Court, there is a screenshot and a photograph taken by one of the sergeants that was there that day, Sergeant Mattingly from Louisville Metro. And according to his comments on the Anti-Hero podcast and several other podcasts and his book, 12 Seconds in the Dark,
which I want to get, by the way.
Yes, so do I. It looks like a very amazing read. That this specific property at 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment number 4 in Louisville, Kentucky, was not subject to a no-knock search warrant. Therefore, when Sergeant Mattingly and his tactical team arrived, while they were in plain clothes, wearing their outer tactical vests clearly marked with police, Louisville Metro Police, they began to knock. They began to knock so loud that the neighbor, who was a over-the-road truck driver, and according to the New York Times, Aaron Julie Sharpie, he heard at least 3 police officers screaming police that night. This was a little bit after midnight on now March the 13th, along with their banging on the door, a loud knocking. When Sergeant Mattingly and his team did not receive any response, they took action based off of their signed search warrant that was given to them by the investigating officers and signed off by an elected official. They entered in to the apartment number 4, 3003 Springfield Drive in Louisville, where they began to search the apartment. They were confronted by 2 individuals. Later learned that one of them was Breonna Taylor. The other one was a gentleman with the last name of Walker. And Mr. Walker had a pistol. Mr. Walker took a shot at Sergeant Mattingly, hitting him in his leg, in his femoral artery, if I'm saying that correctly, because I know that there's a little joke that he has on that podcast about that. Right. And I'm going to tell you what.
I say femoral all the time.
Femoral.
It's femoral, but I say femoral all the time.
Well, there we go. Potato.
The main artery in your thigh.
Yes.
Just know that.
If you get a chance, watch that podcast. It is part of the Failure to Stop podcast series, and it is a very good podcast. We'll play a couple clips of it here.
Yeah, I got to figure. I pulled some times that I want to.
But the issue that we're bringing this, the reason why we're bringing this up was that 2 of the officers that wrote the search warrant, one of them being Detective Joshua Jaynes, Jaynes, they were cleared by a judge in Louisville, a federal court judge that was appointed by Ronald Reagan back in the 80s, were cleared in the death of that their writing of this search warrant was not the cause of Breonna Taylor's death. It was Mr. Walker who fired the first shot at the officers. His actions of firing the first shot at these officers caused Ms. Taylor's death, which is something that many, many people have reviewed the Department of Justice article or their report, along with hearing the facts that have come out. They have also seen and heard this and reviewed the body cam, heard the investigations. The correlation between him taking the first shot and their response to his actions caused Ms. Taylor's death. It's an unfortunate action, which if you listen to this podcast, you'll hear the things that happen afterwards. But also, not only Mr. Walker take that first shot, but almost 17 minutes before he came out to allow EMS to get in and treat her.
Yep.
She bled out in those 17 minutes. He called his mother first. Then he called 911. Then he called Breonna's mother. And then he gave himself up to the police.
Yep.
This is just, if you read through this entire search warrant, they had surveillance on Breonna since January of 2020. While she may not have had charges, while she may not have been the one that was trafficking in drugs, she was part of this conspiracy.
She was involved.
She was involved. And having done search warrants, having been a part of search warrants for my former police department that I retired from, having gone out and done knock and talks, you don't know who you're running into. Sergeant Mattingly took this because it was away from some areas that he didn't want to be in. He thought this was an easy one because it was a knock warrant. They knew that the individual there, Ms. Taylor, was a heavy-set woman, to give her a little bit extra time in order to get to the door, which they did. They gave her over a minute, he states.
Yeah. So since he asked, and it's fair because that's all we heard in the news wasn't this a no-knock warrant, which was not the case. I'm going to play this part of the video. I don't remember if he states the no-knock or the knock part of this because we were kind of scrambling, but I've got this set up.
As I started banging on the door, well, the first we knocked because they wanted us. They told us in the brief it originally was a no-knock because everybody go no-knock, 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 ban no-knocks. This was not a no-knock warrant.
Yeah, okay. There's no reason to know.
Right.
It's supposed to be a soft target.
Had Jamarcus Glover went to that location, it was signed for a no-knock had he been there because that's basically who the no-knock was on with his violent past and all the stuff.
Which is something else the media took and ran with.
Oh, a lot about not just the
which is
media,
not
even the
accurate.
politicians that some of them I even like, the Rand Pauls of the world.
Yeah.
You know, use it to his benefit to pass a law that he's been wanting to pass for years.
So you're saying it was a no-knock warrant.
It was
But
signed as a no-knock,
just in
but
case.
we had the discretion, or they had the discretion to call it off, and they did. And fortunately, when we were in the brief, I took a picture of the board that said "knock and announce" above this address.
Yeah.
So we were able to send that out to kind of quell that, but it was too late because the media scurry was on. So
that gives a little bit of insight into,
And I hope that answers Cincy's question there.
and it was very confusing when that was happening, and me not being in law enforcement. I mean, I can figure out what a no-knock warrant is, but not being versed in it and not being in that environment, not knowing what was happening, and the media just grabbed it and ran.
Right. And I think what it is looking over this search warrant. The search warrant they're pretty much forms that they just, from the ones that I've watched officers fill out. I've never filled one out on my own. But watching officers fill them out, there are sections that they just kind of check. And this is probably why they still have misdemeanor charges pending against them. But there are some typos. There are some ways, some things that they put in here erroneously. But one of them is that the affiant is requesting a no-knock entry to the premises due to the nature of how these drug traffickers operate. Yeah, we all know that drugs and guns, they go together. If a drug trafficker is around, there's going to be a gun around. If there's a drug user around, 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a gun around. It's just the nature of the beast. I mean, you see it if you treat, drug users and, drug traffickers, there's going to be a gun around, if they're out on a deal. So if I were to be writing that, or if guys that I know were writing those, I could see them putting that in there. But if they have their surveillance teams, no chance of weapons being there, they don't have to go by what the judge signed off on. They can make it a knock warrant and wait, like they did. They made the other 3 no knocks because they suspected that guns, drugs, people with felony convictions being there. But all they suspected being there that night was Breonna Taylor. It's written in the search warrant, signed off by the judge. And yes, it does state that it is a no knock. But they have the discrepancy to not no knock. They have the right to go up to that. They can't go past a no knock, but they have the right to go up to the no knock.
Okay. So since he's asking, so if a group of people bust down your door early in the morning, you're supposed to check resumes before protecting yourself and home. When you're getting banged on the door and they're screaming police, search warrant, that pretty much tells you who the fuck they are.
I think that's common sense.
So protecting yourself, I mean, if the police are banging on your door, they've got a pretty good reason. And when they give you multiple options to come to the door and open it on your own accord versus them using a battering ram, you should probably do that.
And when you have enough time to get dressed, your partner to get dressed, find your gun and stand in the hallway and wait.
And use her as a shield, by the way.
Correct. Yes. And use her as a shield after they've already entered. And like I said, I've been a part of enough of these. Everybody entering in there is yelling police search warrant because it's pretty fucking fun to yell police search warrant, police search warrant. Nobody wants to not yell police search warrant when you're walking in on a search warrant, when you're part of that entry team.
I'm gonna play a little bit more. I wasn't gonna play this much of it, but because there's question, because Cincy 513 says, "Is that what happened?" We're listening to a cop that got shot doing this, and if you didn't have anything to hide, why would you be shooting at police officers? I mean, I think that's a fair question.
I mean, I understand Cincy's argument.
Protect your house.
Yes,
I get
the
it.
castle doctrine. I think any of us here.
But when they're shouting police,
Search
warrant,
police search warrant, police, get on the ground. I mean,
and when they busted the door in, he's standing down the hallway as Mattingly describes. There, you can see that they were police officers. It's not just some gangbanger saying, "Oh, police search warrant," and busting the door in.
And like I mentioned earlier, the neighbor upstairs. So these are, if you go back and you look at the photographs of this apartment complex, there's four apartment doors in this little tight hallway, and they're on the first floor. You got apartment, and where they're at. Then above them on the second floor, you have the same exact thing. Well, this is a neighbor, and I don't know which one, but the neighbor from upstairs, whether it's directly above them, across, or the two in the back, that neighbor heard them. You're telling me that inside they didn't hear it? I mean,
right.
Kind of, it doesn't add up. Sugar doesn't bake.
So we'll play a little bit more of this. Just
happened to be in the apartment right above hers, pops out. What are y'all doing? He starts arguing. Brett Hankinson, the one who's later charged in this event, addressed him. Get back in the apartment. Because we don't know who's threats and who's not on scene. Yeah. When people pop out and start yelling.
Different apartment, though.
Yes.
Okay.
But the blessing in that turned out to be he's African descent. He's not from America. He's here. He's a truck driver. He happened to be picking his child up. The girl was babysitting him because he's an over-the-road truck driver. He was picking his child up. So he's the only one that in the interviews actually told the truth that, yeah, I heard him knocking an ounce.
Yep.
Yeah. So
which is the whole
witness.
point of knocking it out.
Yes.
So everybody around that target can hear and they go, yeah, they were
and if
loud
we're bringing the neighbor out upstairs, it's loud enough. So this goes on. He goes back in. We banged for about 4 more cadences. So we're about 6 or 7 total of boom, boom, boom. Police search warrant come to the door yelling. And I'm the obviously the one, you know, I'm the one announcing. I'm the one doing all the talking at this point. And on the last time I look back at my lieutenant, because nobody's come to this door, because right before the last knock, the breacher, Noble, said, wait a minute, I think I heard somebody inside. So we paused. And before I knocked again, I yelled, if you're there, come out. We got a search warrant. This is the police. Nothing. We're listening. Hear nothing. So one more time, boom, 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 police search warrant. I look back at my lieutenant. He gives the nod. I say, here we go. So Mike hits the door. Well, the first time's right on the deadbolt. That door ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, just bent the deadbolt a little bit. One of the guys made a comment, oh, my daughter hits harder than that, or something like that, to that effect.
Right.
Second time, boom, hits it solid. It almost comes open. I remember seeing the deadbolt actually bent, and I could see through the door. I could see into the living room because I'm on the left of the door. He's on the right. The door goes from right to left.
Okay.
So I'm on the left side of the door. I said, here we go. And he hits it. It comes flying open. At this point, we do what everybody does. Everybody's going, police search warrant, police search warrant, police search warrant. So I'm able to slice the pie from right to left until I have no more real estate. I've got the door jamb on this side of me, the wall going down the hall here. I remember the couch, the curtains, the painting on the wall. I remember all that. Could see it, and I stopped. So at this point, I moved, take one simple left to right step, and as my gun's coming around with the light, I remember seeing down the hallway, my brain went, and things are, I've realized this, but you don't realize it until you're in one of these incidents that is repeated over and over and over. Because usually you have these incidents that happen where nobody's life's taken, and then you're off to the next one. Then you're off to the next. You don't have time to sit back and just absorb it. So as I'm going right to left and I hit this hallway, my brain's going, shit, something's wrong here. Because I've got 2 people now at the end of this hallway that are overlapping one another. I can't tell who's overlapping who because it was dark.
But you can see the people.
I could see 2 blobs basically with the tall head and the short head. And my brain's going, this ain't right. Because generally people run, they hide, or they're there giving up or something. I didn't see any hands. And as I'm getting right here, all of a sudden I see the silver tip of his pistol. And as I come and see it, it's too late. Bam, shot goes off. I can feel it hit my thigh. I return 4 shots, boom, 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 boom. And I get behind the doorway and I get off center target and I come back around.
So that's that's Mattingly's firsthand account, getting shot in the femoral artery.
in that big long artery.
But we were gonna have our buddy Dexter Pitts on tonight, but he got some unfortunate news, so he wasn't able to be on tonight. But because he was working at Louisville during that time, like he had just come back, so would have been awesome to get that boots on the ground firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, having him on here would be amazing, just because he understands
and he knows these guys. He knows all these people, all the players that are involved. But it's unfortunate, and it was an unfortunate circumstance that somebody lost their life. But these cops were doing what they were fucking charged to do.
Right.
That's what they were hired to do. Take drugs and guns off the streets.
And what a judge signed off on.
Correct.
Yes. And I mean, since I don't know what else I can factually present to you that's public record that has been reported not only by the police, but the Department of Justice, the Biden Department of Justice. But, if there was wrongdoing, and there is wrongdoing in that affidavit, they misidentified how they found out about some of the packaging in there. It's in one of the sections here on when it was, and if I remember right, it is section 5 or 6 of their investigation notes in here for the judge, and that's why that is the only section of this that is still being litigated in the federal courts, and why these officers were terminated by Louisville Metro. So to answer you, there is wrongdoing by those officers. They didn't inspect what they expected in their investigation. They didn't double check their work. And I think any of us, if we don't inspect what we expect, if we don't double check our work, this is something that was beaten into our heads, at least my head in the police academy. All of our reports, all of our work, you go back through and you go, and because you never know when it's going to be out in the media.
Right.
You never know when it's going to be in a court of record, and you don't want to have, your stuff scrutinized and you look like a fool because you couldn't do your job right.
Right.
And that's unfortunately, I don't know these guys and I don't want to call them fools, but if this was me writing it, I sure as hell would feel like a fool.
Well, and the big thing with this, why we're bringing this up, we're not rehashing the whole Breonna Taylor shooting, is the fact that 2 of the officers that wrote the warrants got hemmed up really, really bad. But then on what's the right wording, on not off good basis, I guess is the best way I can put it right now. Because a judge ruled, because Merrick Garland hemmed them up.
Right.
Merrick Garland came to Louisville, hemmed these cops up, and they're not completely exonerated.
No.
But the charges were lessened because they realized, hey, it wasn't these cops and the way they wrote that search warrant that killed Breonna Taylor. It was her boyfriend's actions that got her killed.
And in going back to the Castle Doctrine, that's the reason why her boyfriend was not criminally charged, because they looked at it. There is reasonable doubt.
Right.
There is reasonable doubt that, yes, you could wake up and you could stumble and everything like that. And you could say, oh my gosh, I had no idea that, after almost 2 minutes of banging and knocking and people yelling and screaming that they're the police, and me standing in the hallway getting dressed and blah, 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 blah. I guess I could realize that it's not the police and it's somebody else. So I have a right to protect myself in my own home, even though these are police and they're here for a lawful reason and they're doing their job.
Right.
Daniel Cameron, a Republican attorney general in Kentucky, decided not to charge them. So take the whole crap about politics out of this, and you look at it straight by the book, by the law. He was not charged in her death, nor was he even charged with shooting at the police. They let him go, and they recited him on his warrants that he had that night. And no one's being held accountable except for the police, because the city, before they even finished the investigation, the city settled out.
They paid it.
And paid out on a lawsuit to her mother, who then turned around and got a motorcycle club to try and track down these officers. And she put a hit at them with her own money that the city paid her with. I mean,
yeah,
that's just ridiculous. I mean, these cases anymore where like this one where these municipalities or these universities, I know UC Cincinnati did it with the Tenzin case. They pay it out before the investigation, before the trial is even over. You're admitting guilt. You're tarnishing a jury pool. I mean, granted, I'm sure that most judges, without researching, most judges won't allow that into the court, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
you're causing the defense to play from behind. You're giving them a presumption of guilt when there's a presumption of innocence in this country. You're taking away their rights. No matter if it's a police officer or Cincy walking down the street and her company or his company decides that, hey, we're just going to pay out because, you know, you're driving one of our vehicles and you hit somebody on the sidewalk. You're guilty no matter what. We're just going to go ahead and pay them out. Even though you haven't been criminally charged and you probably won't be, we're going to pay them out because you're guilty.
Yeah.
That's just what that is.
And Joe Boy brings up, you know, the Memphis Five's another one. No one justified. I know there are more, but there are more, none that come to mind immediately off the top of her head. But no, that Memphis Five was a big one.
Yeah. I mean, the 14-year-old or 13-year-old up in Columbus that Sherrod Brown decided to scream and yell at the top of his lungs that the police officer needed to be fired. And I mean, she was actively stabbing another girl.
Yep.
And the officer shot her. I'm sorry, but a use of force, you're allowed to protect yourself and the lives of others. That's what that officer did up in Columbus. And
yep.
For our elected officials, especially Sherrod Brown, to sit here and to badmouth and say the police officer should be fired for this, he has no idea. That girl was huge. She was tall as crap.
Right.
Jeez, oh Pete. She was like, she could have been playing in the WNBA.
I'm gonna play this just to wrap this up, but I'm gonna play this news article.
A judge has thrown out federal felony charges against a pair of Louisville, Kentucky police officers that were accused of falsifying a warrant. That warrant would wind up leading to a botched police raid and the death of Breonna Taylor in her home back in 2020. U.S. District Judge Charles Simpson, initially appointed by Ronald Reagan back in 1986, wrote in a ruling just this week that Taylor's boyfriend, who fired a shot at police during the raid, caused her death, not a bad warrant. News Nation's Caitlin Becker is here with more on this ruling. Caitlin, I remember this death caused so much anger in so many communities. Now we're hearing this ruling. Tell us more.
You know, Hannah, we have to start really from the beginning of this case. The killing of Breonna Taylor was one of the major catalysts for the international growth of the Black Lives Matter movement, of course, following the death of George Floyd. 4 years ago, Taylor was gunned down by police inside of her Louisville apartment. The 26-year-old EMT and first responder was in bed when out of nowhere, police fired 32 times. They discharged their weapons blindly through exterior walls. Former Louisville police detective Joshua Janes and former Sergeant Kyle Meany, those are the ones who signed that no-knock warrant that led to her killing. Well, they were charged with depriving her of her constitutional right to be free of unreasonable searches and seizures resulting in death. Now, remember, that warrant was served to the wrong address. Police were not there for Breonna Taylor or her boyfriend or anyone in that home. Now, this latest ruling is a big blow to the federal government's civil rights violation case against Janes and Meany. Charges that could have landed the pair in prison for life have been effectively reduced to misdemeanors. Now, in his decision, Judge Charles Simpson wrote, quote, while the indictment alleges that Janes and Meany set off a series of events that ended in Taylor's death, it also alleges that Walker disrupted those events when he decided to open fire. Now, it's important to note here that Kenneth Walker, that's Taylor's boyfriend at the time, testified that he had only returned fire because the police did not identify themselves, and charges against him in this incident were dropped more than 2 years ago. Now, the ruling this week completely goes against the case that Attorney General Merrick Garland laid out against the Louisville officers back in August of 2022.
So there's multiple conflicting things in that news story versus the actual search warrant that we have literally printed out. So it just goes to show you how the media will flip and turn and make you think what they want you to think.
Right. I mean, she's sitting there, and that Breonna Taylor was not there.
I mean, we literally have a document with the judge's signature on it. So,
Yeah. I mean, judge's signature, there are several different ways, and I know we can't zoom in, but you're welcome to, maybe we can scan this later on and do this. But, I mean, I don't know about that, but it has, because it has dates of birth and everything like that. But, I mean, it has her date of birth. It has her first and her last name. It has her address. It has vehicles. And if you do a little bit more research, you're going to find the surveillance photos that they have from the poll cameras that it talks about being in here. I mean, I don't know what else. How many? I mean, these are the facts. How do you mess them up by looking at this? Unless the media has no accountability and they don't have anybody that knows anything about this and this job.
The funny thing is the media will have like their watchdogs, right?
Right.
Watching the police, fire, whatever, whoever.
What experience do they have
But
in that career?
How can you turn it back to the fucking media?
Well, I think there's a few of them out there that are trying, especially on social media, talking about some of the local ones around here. If you're staying on Facebook, you're going to see some. I think that they've been trying to expose a few of them.
Right. But it's nobody holds the media networks, especially like these local ones. National is national and a lot harder to get a hold of. Still possible, but like these local networks, Channel 5, Channel 9 here, Channel 12.
Yeah.
When they fuck something up, they may fix it, but it's buried at the bottom. We have an addendum to
Here's the I know that people that are watching across the country, they don't know this one, or they may. We had one a month ago, Steve Raleigh, the weatherman. I mean,
his son beat the shit out of two elderly people.
Yeah. And then Kevin Youkilis from the Boston Red Sox, he's trying to help out, and he gets drugged into this instead of, he's trying to stop him. Raleigh's like, "Oh, you don't know, Kevin, you don't know." No. You don't just go out there and beat old people. I mean, the elderly people, excuse me. I mean, that's just
huge.
bullshit.
All right, so this guy's a huge, like the chief meteorologist for one of our big channels, has been around for a long time. Ironically, is the son-in-law of a former sheriff who has a very good name, and you haven't heard anything.
Right.
Haven't heard shit.
Same party as the present prosecutor.
Oh, yeah.
And I love our prosecutor. She's amazing. But you don't hear anything. Same with the kid that ran out onto the field at the Reds game and got tased. His grandmother is a former judge.
And then he got to throw out the fucking first pitch of the fucking Florence Freedom game, which I think is just...
You got to capitalize on your...
But nobody ever comes back to the local media like that, where it says, well, it was the wrong address. Well, no, it's literally stated in this document
in black and white,
the address they were going to. But they will say it was the wrong address, but nobody will correct them, and then nobody will ever hear if they do get corrected.
Right. And
that's the horse shit of it.
It is so detailed in here, and you have to be so detailed so that you don't go to the wrong address. They literally have things in here like it has this wreath on the door, or it has the letters are vertical, or the letter is right in the center of the door and not placed above on the wood trim above the door. That's how detailed these are, because like in this case, so that the next person doesn't go to the wrong address, because the case investigator is at 3 miles away or 10 miles away. Or I was on one time where we were hitting a house in Norwood, and somebody else was in Green Township, another one was in Cincinnati, another one was all the way up in Landon, up by Kings Island. So that's how spacious these investigations can be. You're covering 3 different counties. So that's just crazy that you have to have this much detail for these to be authorized by an elected judge. So yeah, it's crazy.
We're gonna shift gears just because I find this one. Rich said it to me, but I find it absolutely amusing, and it kind of goes in with I would go with Kiefer's teacher.
Yeah, definitely.
The teacher segment that we normally have, but this was and I told Rich before he went on, I think I saw a TikTok video of this, of like live, like cell phone coverage of this, but I'm not positive it's the same. But
there is a TikTok video I saw. I'm sure that you're right.
Florida woman is arrested for having a lesbian threesome in a pool in front of children, with her mom then kissing her as she's arrested by the cops. This shit is just, people do not cease to amaze me.
Well, it's job security.
Being in public service. Nothing surprises me.
Nothing at all.
Shocking body cam footage shows the moment a Florida woman is arrested after she allegedly engaged in a lesbian threesome in a public pool in front of children. The woman, who told officers her name was Juliana, was seen getting a kiss on the cheek from her mom before being taken to jail on June 14, 2023. Body cam footage of the incident emerged. Oh,
we should request
the body
cam footage. No.
Oh, I don't think we have it. Shit.
No, but I mean, it is public record.
An employee took pictures of the woman in the act after a worried mother informed him of what was allegedly taking place.
It was a him.
When officers from St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office arrived, Juliana was arrested. Her baffled boyfriend, who she lives with at the complex, was left speechless.
Would you be speechless if that was your girlfriend?
I'd be like, you go, girl. You go.
I mean, I'd be speechless because I was wondering why I'm not involved.
I'd be like, I'll bail you out, Jill. It's fine. I'll bail you out, and then you can have a play date whenever you want.
Just invite me over to watch. Let's get the recording equipment. We'll do a live stream, but instead of being on YouTube, we'll be on OnlyFans.
Right.
We're going to really monetize this shit.
These stories just crack me up. I mean, I'm all about like having fun and having a good time. But you guys you're giving the One More I'm Out of Here podcast so much ammunition, and I love it.
I mean, I'm all for PDA, but I mean, that's a little bit too far, I think. Especially, well, I don't know.
Don't do it in front of kids.
Don't do it in front of kids.
But I'm all about a threesome at a pool. That's fine.
Yeah.
Jill, you're allowed to do whatever you want. I'm not going to put any restraints on you. You're fine. You do whatever you want to do.
You go, girl.
Just don't do it in front of kids. But these fucking idiots, and if it's the same one, and I don't know if it's the same video that I watched, but they're like, what we do wrong? What we do wrong?
I think I found it. We can look at it afterwards. And you can share it.
Oh shit, what's the other one we got?
Speaking of anchors and the media not being held accountable.
Oh yeah,
yes
sir. This is fucking great.
This one's, I mean, this goes with kids and anchors, and there was a channel. Speaking of Channel 9, there was a Channel 9 anchor probably about 15 years ago, something similar to this, but he was part of the Boys and Girls Club or something similar to that. And he would bring him back to his house in Bond Hill. And, I mean, I could find this news story and share it with you for next time. But yeah, he had something.
WACH Fox 57 anchor Matt Vereen is arrested on child porn charges. Fox anchor's been arrested for possessing and distributing child pornography. Matt Vereen, 28, a weekend anchor and sports reporter for the network's affiliate in South Carolina, was taken into custody Wednesday and charged with 3 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. What a fucktard. Just disturbing arrest warrants obtained detail how investigators with the Columbia Police Department, the Department of Homeland Security, and the state's and internet crimes
take him down to Paris Island, put him up on the rifle range, and then just leave him there for the gators.
So this fella decided that he wanted to have child porn. Officers claimed he purchased a 1-minute, 32-second video of a nude 13-year-old girl standing over a camera and another of a 13-year-old girl twerking naked in the bathroom.
Let him get lost in the marshes.
I'm sure that his news station is very proud. I'm sure his family's proud. It's a lot different. It's a lot different being a news anchor versus a teacher.
True.
In my mind. It's not right. It's not right either way.
But I can tell you that I'm glad that Lauren Miner is now in Lexington and not being charged with anything here locally, because I really missed her on my morning Fox 19 channel. And I'm glad that we're not reading anything about her.
Facts.
Yes.
Facts. And then the last story we're going to hit real quick. Where are we at? I got to figure out which one it is.
Oh, yeah.
Stand by.
Stand by.
I had it.
So if you're bringing your car or your motorcycle in from, this is one of my pet peeves. Since I started on pet peeves, I'll end on pet peeves since before he gets to this one. So I used to run and help out with the service department at Harley. And this goes to everything as well. You know, there's an owner's manual inside your motorcycle. God, read it. YouTube videos don't work, permit. Got it? So anyways, if those lights are flashing, there's probably something in your owner's manual to tell you. And if it means that your air pressure, don't just call us.
Figure it
Gas stations have it. And guess what? It costs money. We just don't do this shit for free. Our guys didn't do it. They needed to be paid for it. So when you come in for a tire, be prepared. Tires cost money. They were like $587 on a motorcycle. Don't just expect that shit for free.
Don't expect it for free.
Fuck. Anyways, so we got Gilligan's Island, but in space. Huh?
I should have had that tune tuned up.
I know. That's what I keep thinking every time I see this.
Yeah, so the Boeing Starliner astronauts will spend at least 240 days stuck in space. Is that a new record?
Well,
These poor sons of bitches. And I put it on oh shit.
well, it's Boeing, so at least they didn't lose a door flying up there like the 737s, you know, flying across the world.
Well, it's I said last night with Brody, my my cohort in my Instagram story. It's a dumb idea to go into space. It's a dumb idea. It scares the shit out of me.
See, that's where we differ. I want to go up into space.
There is no
I'd
way.
love to.
There is no way that I would be able to do it.
I want to go out in this. Now that I know you don't want to, I want to go out into space. I want to spacewalk, and I want to pee on you from outer space.
For this reason. For this reason. These people, Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams, will spend at least 8 consecutive months aboard an International Space Station as their Boeing Starliner spacecraft returns to Earth empty because they can't fucking get home.
Well, I mean, they're going to be home. They can get home. They got to wait for the next ship.
That's scary shit.
There just isn't a loaner available for them.
One of my favorite movies, Apollo 13. Absolutely, like my palms sweat. I know how it ends. I've watched it a billion times. My palms sweat.
Seriously?
Yes. That shit scares the hell out of me.
Now, what if
being stuck and not knowing? I don't want to be stuck downtown without a vehicle. I want to know that I'm getting home.
I get that, but they know they're coming home. They know they're coming home in February. They're sending up a spaceship with 2 empty seats.
You fucking hope.
That's what it says in there.
I know, but you hope that happens.
You don't believe the facts?
No.
What are you turning into Cincy? You don't believe facts?
What happens if something breaks on that International Space Station?
Well, then they'll send something up to fix it.
They'll
send a technician up to fix it.
They said
just be available between 8 and 2.
That's the fucked up part, man. Like, you're up there and you're like, oh man. All right, I'm stuck with you for 8 months.
You want to play Uno?
I'm like, oh, sure. I sure hope we have enough oxygen on board. Well, I sure hope something doesn't break. I sure hope that the spaceship that's coming to get us doesn't explode, because then you're now another 3 months.
Now, here, what about this?
But Elon Musk apparently is going to be the one that saves them with SpaceX.
Now, here's the thing. What happens if a meteor crashes into Earth and they're the only 2 left? God damn it, we're fucking lucky to be up here.
I didn't pull this, and I should have pulled it. There was a meme, and Jill had posted on Facebook about their her family's family group chat. Let's see if I can find it.
Is this going to be like the Kennedy family group chat?
The meme was those 2 as they're throwing their hands up as they're walking to the spaceship. But the meme says Boeing Starliner astronauts stranded in space for 80 days and will not return home until 2025. And then it says humanity has about 6 months to purchase 8 billion ape suits, ape costumes for the ultimate prank when they land. Well, I think it's the greatest fucking thing ever. I hadn't seen it. I saw her her Facebook post.
Yeah.
And then it hit my feed. But I was like, holy shit, how awesome would that be? That would be probably the greatest prank ever.
Well, here's the thing: most absentee ballots you can't get them yet. So they've been up there since June. How are they going to vote?
Absentee.
But you can't get your ballot mailed to you until like 30 days before the election.
Well, they can just like snap a picture, maybe. I don't know.
Provisional.
Our buddy John, difficult to look at pictures, says they're already boning up in space. So if they come back and they're the only humans left, they'll be okay. Nicely played, sir.
Very
I
well.
like it.
Very well.
I love it. That scares the absolute shit out of me.
Oh man,
That's troubling.
Now, have you watched the old movie from the 80s, Space Camp?
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. See, now that one got me excited in space. I always wanted to go to space camp because I wanted the failure. I wanted Jinx to have the thermonuclear failure so that he would have to, both of the solid rocket boosters would have to lift my spaceship up and I would get lost. I would have to go into space just being a student at space camp. And then I tried to get my daughter to go to space camp and she would never freaking go. So Caitlin, now you know why I wanted you to always go to space camp. And so
And there you have it. All right, we got a quick ad read here real quick. Our friends at Ohio Valley Productions got a party going on. They need to check out Ohio Valley Productions. OVP is your one-stop shop for corporate functions, fundraisers, festivals, even a backyard barbecue. We're talking about top talent, live acts, DJs, karaoke, trivia, and more. They'll have your party rocking. Quality entertainment with a team with the most experience in the business combined to make your event the one to remember. Got a vision for a great time? Make it happen with Ohio Valley Productions. Just drop an email to Dan@OhioValleyProductions.com. That's Dan@OhioValleyProductions.com. And rock on. What do you think about Dan Varner? He's all
I
right.
fucking love Dan Varner.
He's all right.
He's awesome.
He's all right.
We need some more musical guests in here.
Yeah,
with Dan Varner.
I think we're actually working on that.
That'd be awesome. Some of his musical acts that he meets, up and comers, trying to get them that he.
Oh, he gets to meet a ton of people too.
That would be awesome.
Whenever he goes down to the CMAs, he comes back. He's like, dude, you got to check this person out. So,
let's get some in, Dan. Come on now.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But we got another episode coming to you tomorrow at 5 Eastern. Hopefully you guys tune back in. We appreciate you tonight.
Thank you very much.
Rich, I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Filling in for Pappas. And again, I don't speak for Pappas. I just speak for myself.
Not a boy. But getting a good law enforcement perspective on that case, I think it was huge. Our prayers are with Dexter and his buddy's family. And we will see you guys tomorrow at 5.
Peace.
Make sure you tune in, download, subscribe, rate, and review. We love you all.